Northrop Aircraft had a few contracts with the military, but President John Northrop really liked flying wings. The first, the N1M Jeep, was kind of small. A test pilot could barely cram himself inside the cockpit. The instrument panel almost hit his chin. No view below. It turned through drag produced when the double-split wingtip flaps spread open like a clamshell. Powered by two 120 horsepower engines, the Jeep could hit at 200 miles per hour. Northrop snagged a government contract to build the B-35 flying wing. On the other side of the pond, World War II was winding down, but that didn't stop the Horten brothers from working on their jet-powered two-seat night fighter for the Luftwaffe, something that could eventually hit New York. The Horten HO9. The design consisted largely of steel tubing covered with plywood, cheap, plentiful plywood. One of the Horten brothers said later that they mixed charcoal in with the glue and made it nearly invisible to radar. Another thing that would become important later, the jet exhaust ran over the wings, which helped cool it. Then, Allied troops overran Germany and gathered up all the cool, super-secret Nazi stuff they found, including the Horten HO9. They disassembled it, and ultimately it ended up in a museum, the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Restoration Facility outside of Washington, D.C. It's really cool, the facility. So is the Horten flying wing, but so is every other flying machine there. You really got to see this place. The Horten story sort of peters out from here. Same with the Northrop flying wings. I mean, one does show up in the movie The War of the Worlds, which was shot in 1953. The bomber takes off and spews tons of carbon monoxide into the atmosphere, but they're in the more noble pursuit of nuking the Martians. But the flying wing only looked futuristic and space-agey. It was unstable and slower than the other bombers, the Convair B-36 and the Boeing B-47, Boeing B-52. It couldn't even haul a nuclear bomb. The Air Force canceled its contract and eventually scrapped the flying wing. In the early 1980s, Northrop, remember Northrop? Northrop unveiled the new B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, another flying wing, with about the same radar signature as a Marble. It has no sharp angles to reflect radar waves, and the signal doesn't bounce off the wing. Special paint simply absorbs it. There's little heat signature. The exhaust cools off while it flows over the wing, like the Horten bomber did. The big difference between the two eras is the fly-by-wire control. Yes, for the pilot, the flying Jeep and the flying wings were a handful. But not the B-2. It's computer-generated smooth flying all the way. Put it on autopilot and chill through the bomb run. Ironically, for a bomber with the radar signature of an emaciated hummingbird, one low-flying B-2 is loud enough to make your ears scream for deafness. Invisibility. It's just not like Star Trek.